All right, on to segment two. Segment two. And the first one I want to talk about is one that you'd almost think I have another podcast coming up, where I'm getting myself ready for this. And this is another wrestling story, or thing I'm going to talk about. It's the Mae Young Classic. So WWE has done three. This is their third special event tournament style thing, and the first one was focusing on cruiserweights, so wrestlers who are 205 pounds and under. The second one was the UK tournament, which they crowned the UK champion, which featured everyone from, basically competitors from the United Kingdom. And this one is the Mae Young Classic. Now, this is basically a women's wrestling tournament. And I have to say this right now, because the rumors have been that with this, you are getting, they're going to be starting, much like they did with the cruiserweights, a women's wrestling show, and like they've been trying to do with the UK, but it hasn't exactly worked out. I'm gonna say something right now. Looking at the 32, and you can go. I'll have a link to the bracket for all 32 competitors, and then you can look them up as you go. All 32 of these women, I could honestly see being the roster for this show. Like, forget the tournament. These 32 wrestlers, I could see putting on phenomenal matches on a weekly basis on the WWE network. Some of them, I would even say, you do similar to what you do with the cruiserweights, except I would actually modify it a little bit, and I would go a little bit old school WWE when they did their first draft thing, where they had the undisputed champion would be on both shows. You do something like that with the women. You do, so it's not like, oh, the cruiserweights are only on Raw, and so if there's any smaller guys that are on SmackDown, well, they're not in the cruiserweight division. But you do where you've got these girls coming in here, which it's going to revitalize the main rosters anyways with the women's division, because it's basically been 6 women on a side, 6 women per show. And that's not the best, idea for it, because the storylines tend to get a little bit boring, if you will. You'll have like, oh, well, here's, now it's Natalia's turn as the WWE Women's Champion, and now here it's Charlotte Flair, and now it's, it gets pretty repetitive without new talent. And some of these girls, I think, or women, I think they would need to be in NXT for a little bit, into the training grounds, either to learn the American style of wrestling, with the promos and the showmanship and all that, or just because they're talented enough to do the tournament, but maybe not put on the matches that the Charlotte Flairs, the Sasha Bankses are putting on for on pay-per-views and stuff like that. This also leads to a problem I have with the tournament, with this tournament style, because a lot, with the exception of, I believe, maybe at the most 8 people or 8 women in this tournament, everyone is or was not signed to WWE when they came in. So, and they're using 8 girls from NXT, which is you got WWE with the Raw and SmackDown and all those big pay-per-views, and then you got NXT, which is the up-and-comers show. And it's one of those shows, honestly, where there are months where NXT is putting on, and Grawley's saying, so more skill rather than performance for the women. There's a lot more skill with the competitors, but some of the performance stuff aspect isn't quite there. This whole tournament, though, it brings up the problem. Like, you got these 8 women who are in NXT, already signed to the WWE. That is 8 spots, and I'm using 8 as a rough guess, that could have been used to bring in other talent. For example, I'm going to give one example, because it's mainly, I don't like her gimmick. Bianca Belair, that's her name. Her whole gimmick is she's the EST. She's the baddest, the strongest, the est of the women's wrestling. My problem comes in with the fact that she is like, okay, you have the attitude thing, but then it's like she's got this, she uses her hair as a weapon. I'm like, okay, that's a weapon. Yes, it's on her, and they're technically, and JR did hit it when doing commentary, like, talk about the rules and stuff. I'm like, it's like, all right, we don't see, anyone else doing it, which is a good thing. I mean, no one else is using their hair as a whip, but it's just like, it seems like too much of a one-trick pony for me. And I have a problem with the one-trick ponies. It's one of the biggest reasons why I don't like Braun Strowman, because, I mean, it seems like everything he does is just either no sell or it's to show, just be this big, strong man. But anyways, I look at this roster and it's been a phenomenal tournament. Like I've seen all the episodes up to the finals, which are this next Tuesday, the 12th. And there are some killer matches in there. And some women who I feel like need WWE contracts. Sign them up right now. You get them in NXT, some of them for a little bit, some of them for a little longer, and then pull them up on the main rosters. They will revitalize these women's divisions. Problem comes in with this whole tournament. It was designed for two people: Kairi Sane and Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler, you will probably, especially if you're sports fan, like fighting sports fans, will recognize her. She is a former UFC competitor. She is one of the four horsewomen of mixed martial arts. She jumped to professional wrestling, and she's now apparently going to be signed by the WWE. And I look at this, and I'm a little fearful of this, because she's the female Brock Lesnar. And this is not a slam against her, because she performs better than Brock Lesnar does now. Brock Lesnar put on great matches, but now with him coming back and being a part-timer, he only puts on these, like, he will only really put on killer matches with people he thinks deserves to be in the ring with him. I have a problem with that. But with her, with Shayna Baszler, she's a strong competitor. She's, a fierce competitor. I could see it being a problem as a gimmick, but I also see a lot of potential with that. Because they hinted at it in the Mae Young Classic. 4 horsewomen of the MMA, 4 horsewomen of the WWE. We had 3 of them on either side of the ramp. And so it's one of those, like, you do this as a WrestleMania or Survivor Series match where it's an 8-woman tag, the 4 horsewomen of the to determine who is the 4 horsewomen of fighting sport. That's going to make money. That's going to make a lot of money. Now there's going to be a lot more signing that had to have to be done, and some of the women would have to be a little bit more trained in the WWE side of things. But I like that. The other part is the other competitor in here. These 2 are in the final. Shayna Baszler and the other one, Kairi Sane, are in the finals. And it's one of those, like, I figured that much because there was a lot of hype around Kairi Sane. She's wrestled, I believe, in New Japan. She's, brilliant competitor. There's honestly a lot of these competitors that I look at and I go, okay, yeah, they could put on great matches. They could do this. And she's the same way. She's wrestled all around. She's wrestled actually before this, World Wonder Ring Stardom is where she wrestled. Like, I feel like she's going to be a good addition here. Like, I hate to compare her to the men, but a lot of more people know. But I see her having, a similar stardom like Shinsuke Nakamura had when he came into the WWE. Like, you had the wrestling marks who knew him, who watched him in New Japan, watched him face, Brock Lesnar and his, as a very green fighter. And then you get, I see her doing this and one of it's because her personality, her persona is amazing. I love this persona that she has. And it was very fun, very energetic. It's a persona that I could see her not needing to change a lot to play both a good guy and a bad guy. I'm gonna name a couple other wrestlers to be on the lookout for. Xia Li from China. I thought she was eliminated in the first round. I thought she did great. I could see her, being brought in and utilized right away. Maya Yim from South Korea. Just her story alone, like, they talked about her story a little bit. But you start with that, and then you go into her fighting style, and oh my gosh, some explosive matches. I would love, like, honestly, one of the things I would love is to see her and Candice LeRae, who is actually married to Johnny Gargano, an NXT wrestler right now, who's they call him Johnny Wrestling. In there, it's one of his nicknames. She got eliminated in the second round, third round. And it's one of those, like, I would love to see her do this because she, much like her husband, very good very good fighting spirit between the two of them, and you could see it with the matches. And plus, she's got a sweet finishing move. I mean, in all honesty, it's called Miss LeRae's Wild Ride, and it's one of those moves that you've never really seen before. Toni Storm out of Australia, she's another great competitor. Dakota Kai from New Zealand. Actually, the whole, like, there was three wrestlers from New Zealand or Australia, and those were some of my favorite matches to watch, just because of the fact that you had, like, they instantly had the crowd going. Yeah, especially the Australian side, because they always go, Aussie, 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 oi, 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 Aussie, oi, right away, just behind them. The other one is Rhea Ripley. She's super strong competitor, only 20 years old, which surprised me a little bit, because she has the experience of someone who's much older. And I think it's one of those things, like, I am super excited to see what happens with these competitors. I just hope WWE doesn't do what they did, like pass up like they did with Zack Sabre Jr. and they have a lot of these women wrestle on for them. The other thing I'm going to talk about, unless I think of anything else, is this stack of comic books. These are the first 10 issues, or actually the 10 issues of Secret Empire, starting from, or actually 11, because it starting with issue 0 all the way to issue 10. This is Marvel's latest event series that they have completed. One of the things I'm going to point out real quick is, and I don't know how well it's going to look, but I love the logo on the cover. Like, this is one of the things I would honestly do with the comic. Yeah, Cap versus Cap, as Growly's putting it in our YouTube chat. But you look at the logo between Secret Empire. And there's issue 1, 2. Like, it was here, like, you slowly, as you're watching this, start to realize like, when you get to issue 3, and this is actually the variant edition, which is one of those that I love. It's an Andrea Sorrentino variant cover of Lady Thor, but you slowly realize, wait, something's going on with the logo. And then Hydra is taking over and all that, all the way to where you get the full-on Hydra Cap shield, and then you see it breaking, and the return of the traditional Captain America shield with it in all its glory, no damage around it. Now, I'm going to hit on something real quick with this. I'm interested to see what, for example, my fellow Galactic netcasters, Brad Ludwig and Corey Scott, the other comic book readers, well, former comic book readers, but comic book fans, think of this series, because this is one with the start of Captain America, Steve Rogers, written by Nick Spencer. It was one of those things that I'm like, this is an interesting concept, because it was taken out of Assault on Pleasant Hill, or Avengers Standoff. I think it has another name too, where Captain America comes back. He gets youngified again. Oh, but there's a secret. He's Hydra. He's always been Hydra. It was one of those, like, you could sort of figure, like, they're not going to retcon the history that much with it, but it was a fun idea to look at. Like, oh yeah, he was Hydra this whole time. Well, what would that look like? And you see that playing out with, him growing up and being best friends with Baron Zemo, with Helmut Zero, or Zemo, and you're going through it, and you're getting this political espionage type of stuff from him, and yet you're getting on both things, because Nick Spencer wrote both Sam Wilson Captain America and Steve Rogers Captain America. He was doing these at the same time, and so at the flip side, you had Sam Wilson, who was very much a modern political thriller about the state of the country, and all these racial tensions that are going on and stuff like that. But you never had, like, when I remember first reading this, I was just like, okay, I'm here for the ride. Yes, it might sound a little far-fetched that, Cap being a member of, being Hydra this whole time and stuff like that. But I just thought, okay, this is great story. I'm going to let them tell it. You fast forward to Secret Empire, where Cap has successfully overthrown the government, or what Cap or Hydra Cap, Captain Stevel, as it was pointed out, as it was coined in Mighty Captain Marvel issue 9 that came out last week. So you've got, Captain America as a bad guy, took over the world, locked out a lot of the heavy hitters, the cosmic heroes outside of the Earth with a defense shield thing. And he also captured some brood eggs, or some Chitauri eggs. So the Chitauri are coming in waves because they want their eggs back. You have this other Captain America here we're following, and you're like, wait, where is this coming from? And it turns out that when Kobik, the sentient cosmic cube, rewrote Captain America, she basically kept a backup, because she just thought she was doing what was good. She was listening to Red Skull, bad choice, and going about that way. And let's call him Classic Cap, because he is. He is the true red, white, and blue Captain America. And it's one of those that, even though Secret Empire hinted at Generations, and Generations is going to hint at, or it has been hinting at, essentially Marvel's Rebirth. I'm forgetting what it's called, but I didn't mind it, because this is a truly self-contained story. Growly is asking, he wonders about the fall of those who died. And this is the interesting thing. I applaud Nick Spencer for sticking to this route. You have Kobik, the sentient cosmic cube. The first issue and the 10th issue were both drawn by Steve McNiven. Steve McNiven did the artwork for Civil War, the first Civil War book, with that Mark Millar wrote. And that's Captain America Civil War, the movie was loosely based off of. He does a great job in here. He captures in issue 1 the death of Rick Jones so well. It was so good that I'm like my heart broke. And I'm not a big Rick Jones fan. Like, I don't hate the character, but it made sense that they gave him something to do after he got de-gamified by Dot Green, by the Hulk that had the brain of, that still had the mental capacities of Bruce Banner this last time. So you have a couple of tragic deaths in here. The death of Rick Jones, but more importantly, the death of Black Widow. And this is something that had been hinted at since Inhumanity, the last event book that featured the Inhumans. It featured the Inhumans. No, sorry, it wasn't Inhumanity. It was Civil War 2, because it was like both of them. They're like one tied to the other. And you have with this, you had the prophecy from this Inhuman who could predict the future, that Miles Morales Spider-Man was going to kill Captain America. Now, they didn't know at the time that he was Hydra. All you saw was him, with Cap on a, Cap through a stake out on the state capitol, or in Washington, D.C., on the Capitol building. We get to that moment, and this is, again, where I will applaud the artist. This was done by Andrea Sorrentino. If you have not read any books that she does the art for, you're doing yourself a disservice. I first got in touch with her art during the New 52 when she was writing, or she was doing the art for Jeff Lemire on Green Arrow. I love her art style. It's so great. The way she tackles violence, where she's showing more than what she probably could show if it was just in plain color. But with the fact that she's almost doing a Mortal Kombat approach to some of the things, where you're almost seeing like the skeleton with the bone breaking or whatever. You get that same thing here, where Hydra Cap actually kills Black Widow with his shield. He's got the pointed, the more traditional shield. I believe they call it a kite shield, and he's going to do that. He's going to use it to kill. And these are the cool design I would say about the shield. At the point, it has it'll come out at the end. It'll actually point out, and there's a knife there, so blades there, so it can be used as a weapon. He's going to do this. He's going to kill Miles Morales, and Black Widow. Very last second, she comes in and he punches her right there. Is right there, breaks her neck. This is one of the things I could have. I applaud them for not rewriting the history with this and have Kobik erase the deaths of Rick Jones, of Black Widow. As they said it, as he put it in issue 10, she rewrote the world, but she gave all of the heroes the wherewithal of what happened so that this would never happen again. Now, Growly Bear is asking about Generations, because Generations started while Secret Empire was wrapping up. I believe it started during issue 5 or 6. Generations, and for those of you guys who don't know, Generations is a series of one-shots that lead up to Marvel Legacy. That's the name of that book that I was thinking of. That is leading up to Marvel Legacy. You see it in the end of issue 10, where Kobik takes some of the newer heroes, Ironheart, Kate Bishop's Hawkeye, Ms. Marvel, these legacy, quote unquote, legacy characters, Jane Foster's Thor, and she puts them in with, or they're placed in this event or the stories with their predecessors. So, for example, one of the stories that came out last week was The Archers. It was Kate Bishop and Clint Barton, the Hawkeyes, on this Hunger Games style island where everyone's wearing a belt that if they try to take it off, it's apparently a bomb, but if you hit on the belt buckle part, it teleports them back to wherever they go. This does a couple things. It's brilliantly done, because so far every book is written by so for example, that book was written by Kelly Thompson, who is writing the Hawkeye book that is focusing on Kate Bishop. The Thor book was written by Jason Aaron, who is doing the Mighty Thor book, which is focusing on Jane Foster's Thor. Every book is being written by the person who is writing for the younger characters. So one of them, for example, is going to be Cap America, I believe it's called the Captains, but it's Cap America, Steve Rogers, and but an older Steve Rogers, like a previous in time Steve Rogers, and Sam Wilson, and they're going to team up, and it's going to help them to come about some ways here, to help each other learn things. I look at Generations as a series of great one-shots, because there's some, for example, a few of them will hint to the books that the younger one is in. So, for example, the Ironheart and Iron Man was one, and I believe that one came out, and it will lead back to, or hint back to, Invincible Iron Man, which is still starring Ironheart. The Thor book did that same thing with Mighty Thor, but then it also hinted at events that will happen in Marvel Legacy. It's giving hints without necessarily being directly tied, if that makes sense. But yeah, definitely I would say go check out Secret Empire. Some of the trades to check out, with the tie-ins to check out with it. The all new Guardians of the Galaxy tie-in was really good. The Mighty Captain Marvel tie-in was really good as well. Told the story of these 3 young kids. They're Alpha Cadets, because Captain Marvel is still the leader of Alpha Flight when this is happening, and how on their first day they go up to Alpha Flight just as the shield is getting locked on, turned on and locked, the door locked. And as you would imagine, hilarity ensues from there. But yeah, that's going to do it for me.
The galaxy far, far away feels closer now than ever before, and your guides through this galaxy are ready to help. I'm Zach Hagenbusher, one half of the new Jedi Archives podcast with Ben Schultz. Join us every other Tuesday for our experiences with the Star Wars saga, from the core films that we know and love, well, you know, some of them, to the annals of history and the works that shaped Star Wars into what we know it as today. Just jump in wherever you'd like. Download an episode of the new Jedi Archives today.
For more on this Galactic Network podcast, go to gncast.com. That's gncast.com.